it's time for my June reading wrap up. If you're interested in seeing what I read for June and hearing about some of my new all-time favorite books that I found, then just keep watching. Hi, I'm Danielle. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I hope you'll enjoy what you see and want to subscribe, stick around, definitely say hello to me down in the comments because I'd love to be able to talk back and forth with you. And for those of you who are coming back, thank you so much for coming back. It means so much to me. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope that you will. And of course, also please say hello to me down in the comments because I want to be able to talk to you too. All right. I am really excited to be able to share with you what I read for the month of June. It was an excellent reading month. Did I read as many books as I had planned to? No, I didn't. But it was still super, super good. So I will start off by saying that there were a couple of books that I had planned to read for June that I did not get to. And one was Funeral Food, can't remember the name of the author. And the other one was called The Pawn, also can't remember the name of the author. But they just didn't excite me. And I ended up going to the library, like getting my library card after like over 15 years. And when I was there, I picked up some other books. And I was like, I would rather read these books than these ones. So those two books didn't get read for the month. And that was okay. I also did not read as much as I typically do because I'm babysitting my grandson 3 days a week, and he is almost 4 months old. You know what? I spend a lot more time cuddling him than reading, and that's exactly what I want to be doing. And so, yeah, I didn't get as much reading done as I typically do, but that is perfectly okay. So we're just gonna get into what I did read, because what I did read ended up being pretty dang good. So let's start with the very first book. This is a book that I have a group of friends. We go to a Bible study together every Tuesday during the fall and winter and spring. And that ended in April, and we still want to get together and things like that. So I was like, ooh, what if we do like a book club together? So we decided to do that. And I had chosen The Lost Ticket by Freya Sampson to be our first pick. None of them wanted anything even remotely scary, so even a cozy mystery didn't seem like the right thing. And we wanted to make sure it was something that just, you know, had some good substance to it. And when I read the reviews for this book, I was like, oh, I think that's it. And I had sent it to them, and they were all like, yeah, let's do that one. So this book did not disappoint, you guys. I absolutely love it. So I will go ahead and tell you what I said about it on Goodreads. I said, oh my heart, this book brought more emotion to me than most books I've ever read. I absolutely fell in love with these characters and feel like I'm leaving behind friends now that I'm done with the book. There are so many endearing characters in this book, and a couple, like Libby's mom, who I'd like to knock some sense into. I love when a book gives you complex characters that make you feel a range of emotions. Most of all, though, I loved the relationships between the three main characters, and Esme. Could there be a more unlikely yet more beautiful group of friends? Something this book touched on several times that I think is so incredibly important is the elderly characters who feel like they are a burden and annoyance to their children. That absolutely broke my heart. I would never want my grandma or my parents to feel that way. It was a great reminder of the treasure we have in relationships and how there is nothing more important than taking the time to nurture them and to show people that we love them. Having experienced what dementia took from one of my grandmas and all of us who loved her before she passed away, I felt this book wholeheartedly. What a special book. This one will stay with me for a long time, and I'm so glad I read it with a group of friends. I can't wait to discuss it with them. We all felt the exact same way. We already discussed it together. This was a 5-star read, no doubt about it. It takes you through such a range of emotions. Yes, there's a sadness about the dementia and that aspect of it, but there's so much beauty in it otherwise that it's real life. It's things that people experience. Let me tell you really quick what the book is about. When Libby Nichols arrives in London, brokenhearted and with her life in tatters, the first person she meets on the bus is elderly Frank. He tells her about the time in 1962 that he met a girl on the number 88 bus with beautiful red hair just like hers. They made plans for a date at the National Gallery Art Museum, but Frank lost the bus ticket with her number on it. For the past 60 years, he's ridden the same bus, trying to find her, but with no luck. Libby is inspired to action, and with the help of an unlikely companion, she papers the bus route with posters advertising their search. Libby begins to open her guarded heart to new friendships and a budding romance as her tightly controlled world expands. But with Frank's dementia progressing quickly, their chance of finding the girl from the 88 bus is slipping away. More than anything, Libby wants Frank to see his lost love one more time. But their quest also shows Libby just how important it is to embrace her own chances for happiness before it's too late, and a beautifully uplifting novel about how a shared common experience among strangers can transform lives in the most marvelous ways. And that really is what this book made you think about, was don't waste time, if there's people that you want to reconnect with, if there's things you want to do, don't waste time because you don't know how much you have. And it was just such a beautiful book, very heartfelt, just absolutely wonderful. If you are looking for something that makes you smile, I literally giggled out loud several times reading this book. Like, the characters are just awesome. So I cannot recommend it enough. So 5 stars for The Lost Ticket by Freya Sampson. Next up was The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson. This is my first Frayed Edges book, so I was very excited when I got it. And kind of my first like romantasy type of book also. I read this book with a group on Fable from Maria. Her channel is Books and Mo. She had this book club, and I was really excited because she's a big fantasy reader, and I've been like wanting to get into that more and discovering I do like some aspects of it. So I was really excited to read this book. Unfortunately, well, let me tell you what it's about. After losing both their parents, Bristol Keats and her sister struggle to stay afloat in their small, quiet town of Bowskeep. When Bristol begins to receive letters from an aunt she's never heard of who promises she can help, she reluctantly agrees to meet and discovers that everything she thought she knew about her family is a lie. Her father might even still be alive, not killed, but kidnapped by terrifying creatures and taken to a whole other realm, the one he is from. Desperate to save her father and find the truth, Bristol journeys to a land of gods and fae and monsters. Pulled into a dangerous world of magic and intrigue, she makes a deadly bargain with a fae leader, Tigan. But what she doesn't know is that he's the one who drove her parents to live a life on the run, and he is just as determined as she is to find her father, dead or alive. So everything about this screamed, yes, this is going to be so amazing, okay? In my mind. And I will say, overall, I did enjoy it. Let me tell you what I said. This was my first true fantasy book, and I was all about it. I loved the storyline and loved so many of the characters. Bristol is sassy and doesn't back down, yet has such a soft side too. Man, did she get hit from every angle with secrets and lies that have been surrounding her whole life. I truly loved every element of this book, aside from the spice and the way it ended. I knew it would be open-ended since number 2 is coming out, but I thought where this left off was a very weird and obnoxious choice. Since I loved pretty much everything else about it so much, it didn't take away from my opinion of the book too much overall, but I think there were a million better choices to leave off on than that. The atmosphere, there was a coziness about it. I really enjoyed several of the characters. I loved what was happening, that they're trying to, I don't want to ruin it if you want to read it, but basically she goes into this, fae realm and to look for her father, and she also is getting brought into a group who is training to be able to have this battle to basically save their kingdom. And so there's so many aspects of it that I really enjoyed like that, and there's a group of friends that she makes that I really love, that friend dynamic. I love a friend dynamic in a book, just like in The Lost Ticket. So there were things I really enjoyed. What I didn't enjoy was the weird spice. I'm not a spice person anyway, but I can overlook, kind of go past things. It was things that developed way too fast to be realistic. It didn't make any sense with what the major, crazy important things they had going on, that was an element of it. Because I'm sorry, but in that situation, that'd be the last thing I'd be thinking about. And so I felt like it was just very forced and just kind of put in there to be so it had spice for people who like that. It was really weird. And then the way the book ended, like I said, there's book number 2 is coming out. And so I expected it to kind of be a little bit open-ended. The last scene that it left off on is the most obnoxious thing I have ever read in a book. I was like, are you serious right now? And in discussing with the other people in the book club, we kind of all agreed with that it was just a very weird choice. And then when I was looking through on Goodreads at the different reviews, I saw someone said, well, that's a choice, for the ending. I mean, it's so stupid. So that kind of really, it brought the book down to a 3.5 star rating for me, because there were so many things that I liked, but that weirdly placed spice throughout. And then the way that it left off, it just really took down a lot of the enjoyment of the book for me. And so, yeah, will I read the second one? I don't know if I will. We'll have to see. But so The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson, 3.5 stars. Next up was The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I was so excited about this. I'm not a romance person, but because there is a magical realism aspect of this, I was like, oh, that'll make it fun, because it's not like trying to be so serious and then sometimes corny. Like, this is purposely kind of corny. So I was all about that. So I've heard great things about it. I've heard great things about her writing in general. And so I was really excited to read it. Florence Day is the ghostwriter for one of the most prolific romance authors in the industry, and she has a problem. After a terrible breakup, she no longer believes in love. It's as good as dead. When her new editor, a too handsome mountain of a man, won't give her an extension on her book deadline, Florence prepares to kiss her career goodbye. But then she gets a phone call she never wanted to receive, and she must return home for the first time in a decade to help her family bury her beloved father. For 10 years, she's run from the town that never understood her, and even though she misses the sounds of a warm southern night and her eccentric, loving family in their funeral parlor, she can't bring herself to stay. Her father's gone, yet everything else feels the same, and she hates it. Until she finds a ghost standing at the funeral parlor's front door, just as broad and infuriatingly handsome as ever, and he's just as confused about why he's there as she is. Romance is most certainly dead, but so is her new editor, and his unfinished business will have her second-guessing everything she's ever known about love stories. Okay, so then let me tell you what I said. This was pretty much exactly what I want out of a romance. I'm typically not into romances because I find them cheesy, and most of them are way too spice-forward. This book had only a small amount of spice and nothing super graphic, which I greatly appreciated. The supernatural aspect made it a fun romantic read and not overall overtly cheesy, or maybe it was overtly cheesy on purpose, and that's what made it so good. I have to admit that I figured out what was going on pretty early in the story, but that didn't change how much I loved reading it and seeing how things unfolded. I loved the realness of the grief of the main character and her family. I loved the quirkiness of the family characters. There were a few elements that I didn't like, so that's why I would technically rate this book 4.5 stars, but since Goodreads doesn't have that rating, I rounded up to 5. One of the things that drove me completely nuts was how many times the author described Ben's eyes as ochre. I thought it was ironic how she mentioned that the editor would have flagged certain things that Florence was saying, because how did her editor not flag that she described his eye color as ochre way too many times? Besides the few aspects in the story that I found irritating, I overall loved this story. This is a type of romance I can get into, and now I can't wait to read The 7-Year Slip that is currently on my bookshelf, which is also by her. So yes, it was so weird how many times this author described this guy's eyes as being this color. I'm like, why is she saying it again? Like, why do we keep saying this? It was kind of weird. And so then I did think it was ironic that the character in the book is saying that, oh, my editor would have flagged this if I put this or whatever. And I'm thinking, why didn't your editor, Ashley Poston, flag that? You said that a million times. I don't know. But anyway, not a big deal. It was just something I noticed that kind of drove me nuts. There were a couple of aspects of it that weren't my favorite, but overall, I really enjoyed this book. It was really fun. It's the type of romance I mean, sort of, that I want to read. I mean, I'm a little more traditional in how I would like to see romances develop, because I think there's a difference between true romance and like lust. But overall, it was just really fun and goofy. I loved the family dynamics. I loved the idea that they owned this funeral parlor and just different things that they experienced through that and the way they look at, you know, life and death. And it was just so good. I really enjoyed it. So I did give this 4.5 stars. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Next up was a buddy read with my friend Heather. She sent this to me for my birthday. It is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. She was like, you have to read this book. If you loved Hunger Games, you will love this book. Oh my gosh, there is the coolest bird out my window right now. Sorry. Woo. Distraction. I've never seen one of these before here, so interesting. Anyway, so I was like, okay, I'm down. Like, I'll totally check that out. A good dystopian fantasy, like, it's something that I do enjoy. So I was really excited to pick this up. A world with no hunger, no disease, no war, no misery. Humanity has conquered all those things, and even has conquered death. Now scythes are the only ones who can end life, and they are commanded to do so in order to keep the size of the population under control. Citra and Rowan are chosen to apprentice to a scythe, a role that neither wants. These teens must master the art of taking life, knowing that the consequence of failure could mean losing their own. They learn living in a perfect world comes only with a heavy price. And so, okay, the premise of this, yes, sounds really dark, and I mean, it is, but it's not totally. Okay, so I said, this was so good. Wow, what a concept and what a ride. I knew this book would be heavy, but I had no idea how much I would fall in love with certain characters. Although this book is obviously dystopian fantasy, it explores themes that are so important and thought-provoking. Imagine what it would truly be like if we became immortal. What would that actually look like? I can guarantee we would be a society searching for meaning, because when you know you aren't confined to a limited lifetime here on Earth, you would become bored and nothing would feel very meaningful. The dynamics of relationships would be completely different. Also, the idea that if you enjoy gleaning, which is taking people out, you should not be a scythe. I loved that that was something this book explored and made very clear. The way it pointed out that when there's absence of faith, it changes everything about the way people see themselves and each other. It was so good. There was just so much more to this book than I was anticipating, and I cannot wait to read the next book in the series. So that's the thing. It really made you think about, what if there wasn't disease, sickness, all that kind of stuff? If you knew you were going to be able to live forever, they're able to go back and make themselves younger. And just the lack of, it talks about art and how when they go back and look in these museums of art before, the age of when people were no longer sick and stuff, that now the art is so boring. And because there's not the same, if you don't have that knowledge of that, you get to live this life one time. And so appreciate it. Look at the things around you, marvel at the world, at nature, at relationships with people, and all that kind of stuff. You would lose all that, and just what that looks like in this society. And so that was a huge part of it that I wasn't really expecting to get from this book. And also because it's a YA, and so it's a very heavy concept, but beautiful. It's beautiful the way it's done. And just the Rowan and Citra and what they're going through, with being a part of this, being apprentices, that this is going to be something that they are supposed to do. And oh man, it's just so good. So I'm excited to report this was a 5-star, no doubt about it. And this has become one of my most favorite books I've read in a very, very long time. I guarantee this is one of my favorites of the year. And I cannot wait to get the other books in the series, because Heather said that she likes the second book even better than the first one. So I cannot wait to see where this goes. And it was just very thought-provoking. And so I definitely recommend this. So Scythe by Neil Shusterman, 5-star. Next up was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I had heard so many good things about this book. I mean, just people talking about it like crazy. So I've been so excited to get my hands on this. So this was actually a book that I got from my library. And so it wasn't technically one of my June reads for my TBR for last month, but it became one. And so I was so excited to get into this. Let me tell you what it says. Aging and reclusive Hollywood movie icon Evelyn Hugo is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. But when she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique Grant for the job, no one is more astounded than Monique herself. Why her? Why now? Monique is not exactly on top of the world. Her husband has left her, and her professional life is going nowhere. Regardless of why Evelyn has selected her to write her biography, Monique is determined to use this opportunity to jumpstart her career. Summoned to Evelyn's luxurious Manhattan apartment, Monique listens in fascination as Evelyn tells her story. From making her way to Los Angeles in the 1950s to her decision to leave show business in the 80s, and of course, the 7 husbands along the way, Evelyn unspools a tale of ruthless ambition, unexpected friendship, and a great forbidden love. Monique begins to feel a very real connection to the legendary star, but as Evelyn's story nears its conclusion, it becomes clear that her life intersects with Monique's own in a tragic and irreversible way. So, this says, written with Reid's signature talent for creating complex, likable characters, this is a mesmerizing journey through the splendor of old Hollywood into the harsh realities of the present day as 2 women struggle with what it means and what it costs to face the truth. Let me just tell you what I said on Goodreads. It's short. I loved this writing style and the way Evelyn's story was told, so I overall enjoyed this book. But I feel like it was overhyped a little, and I didn't enjoy some of the themes throughout the story. The ending actually ticked me off for a couple of reasons, but I won't spoil it for anyone. Overall, it was good, but not quite what I was hoping for after hearing people rave about it. So I did give this book a 4-star because I thought it was very well written. There were aspects of it that I absolutely loved. I loved that old Hollywood time, hearing, in the industry, and you do know from real stories of people during that time that what she's describing is very much how it was in a lot of ways. And so I loved that aspect of it. I really loved some of the characters, things like that, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't what I was expecting. And like I said, the ending, like, literally ticked me off. There were two aspects at the end that they left me with an ick. And so I know so many people love this book, and I get it. It just didn't hit for me the same way that it does for a lot of other people, or the way that I thought it was going to. So I was kind of actually disappointed, because it was probably one of my most anticipated reads, and I was just kind of left like, okay, that wasn't really what I was looking for. So it's one of those things that it's just a personal preference. Like I said, the writing is fantastic, and I love the idea of the interview style and that kind of thing, but just the way it wrapped up at the end and stuff, I did not like it at all. I didn't like it. So still 4 stars for The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So then the last book that I read for June is Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This is another book that was one of my most highly anticipated. I got this from the library as well, and so I could not wait to get into this. So this was actually the last book that I read for June, and let me tell you what it's about. After years of avoiding one another, Daisy Darker's entire family is assembling for Nana's 80th birthday party in Nana's crumbling Gothic house on a tiny tidal island. Hello, I love it. They're finally back together one last time, and when the tide comes in, they will be cut off from the rest of the world for 8 hours. Also, awesome. The family arrives, each of them harboring secrets. Then, at the stroke of midnight, as the storm rages, Nana is found unalived. An hour later, the next family member follows. Trapped on an island where someone is taking them out one by one, the Darkers must reckon with their present mystery as well as their past secrets before the tide goes out and all is revealed. With a wicked wink to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, Daisy Darker's unforgettable twists will leave readers reeling. So I had heard people talk about this, specifically Hannah from the Teacher TBR, I think is the name of her channel. She raved about this book. The way she described it, I was like, okay, that sounds like something I would thoroughly enjoy. So I said, okay, this is one of my most favorite books I have ever read. It legitimately kept creeping me out all the way through, and I kept changing my mind about who was responsible for what was happening. I did kind of have a hunch about one aspect of the story a little less than halfway through, but that did not affect how it made me feel about the story that was playing out at all. I got this book from the library, but this is one I definitely want to have a copy of on my bookshelf. I want to read it again around Halloween since it takes place on Halloween. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend reading it around that time of year. This was such a unique storyline, and the atmosphere and imagery were excellent. This is one I'm going to be thinking about for a long time, I can already tell. This seriously is one of my most favorite books I've ever read. The writing is so awesome. Just the way she, let me find one part that I read to my husband. I was like, oh yeah. Okay, I actually read this to my husband when I saw it because we know someone like this, and so I just thought this was so good. Complaining is my sister's not-so-secret superpower. She is a walking frown. The soundtrack of her life is little more than a series of moans stitched together into a symphony of negativity, which I find exhausting to listen to. And we might all know someone like that, which, oh man, I would hate to be described as that. But just things like that, the way she writes things, oh my gosh, it's so good. Literally, I was so creeped out throughout this book. And just the way things play out, and like I said, I did kind of have a hunch about one aspect of it, a little less than halfway through, but it didn't matter because I was like, even if that is what it is, this is still, so many things played out in ways that I never could have imagined. Oh my gosh, new favorite book, or one of my new favorites. I had mentioned that I want to start getting things from the library more, and if I really love them, then I will buy a copy instead of just buying copies of books and then filling my bookshelves with things that maybe I won't even necessarily ever want to read again or something. This is one I will definitely want to read again, and like I said, around Halloween time, because it happens on Halloween. And oh my gosh, so good. The creepy feels, the mystery of it, the just family dynamics, such a toxic family, and oh, it was just so good. There was just so many good things about it. So I am definitely getting myself a copy of this book for my bookshelf because it is something I will read again, and I want to lend to people to read because it's seriously, it made me so happy. Like, so yeah, I definitely 5 stars for Daisy Darker by Alice Sweeney. That was my reading for the month of June. I was very happy with how that ended up working out, even though I didn't read some of the things that I originally had planned to. I think I definitely wouldn't have enjoyed my reading month nearly as much if I hadn't swapped out those other books for those library books. So The Lost Ticket by Freya Sampson, 5 star. The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary A. Pearson, 3.5 stars. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, 4.5 stars. Scythe by Neil Schusterman, 5 stars. One of my new favorites. Can't wait to get in the rest of the series. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, 4 stars. And then Daisy Darker by Alice Sweeney, 5 stars, and one of my absolute favorites ever. So I can't wait to hear, what do you think of my reading month for June? Have you read any of these books? Do you feel the same way as I do, or do you feel differently? Let me know down in the comments. But I thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and hopefully I helped you find something new that you might want to read and check out. And hopefully you will love the things I loved as much as I did. All right, thank you guys so much. I will talk to you again very soon. Bye.